Hi everybody, I hope you're good. Let us quickly have a look at the Mr. Price chart. And as you guys can see, we are on the monthly chart. And in regards to this particular chart of Mr. Price, we can see that the market has given us a very nice M structure at this point, which has a neckline at that point. As you guys can see, we saw price breaking to the bottom side of that neckline, heading back to that neckline to test it, right? And at that neckline, guys, is where we should have looked for potential selling opportunities. And that is because, guys, whenever it comes to these type of formations, and in this case the M formation, as I've said, we want to see price breaking to the downside of that neckline and then heading back up to that neckline to just test it. And at that point is where we would normally look for those potential selling opportunities, guys. And I believe that had we sold at this area over here, our take profit should have been at this level, more or less. Why do I say this level? That is because if you look at this level, that's exactly where the M formation started. It started at this point, went up, gave us the M formation, came down to this level to break the neckline, went back to the neckline again to test it, and at that point, as I've said, is where we would have looked for those selling opportunities. And I believe that the market should push further down to around this level, which is more or less where it started, and that's how it would complete this structure, which is the M formation. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is just add a neckline to that M structure. So guys, what I'm saying in other words is that at this point in time, it's not a good idea to be buying Mr. Price. It's not a good idea to be buying Mr. Price, and that is because we need to see this pattern play itself out, right? And I believe that once price reaches around this level, which is in line with this area over here, then we might potentially start looking for those buying opportunities, right? Anyway, another thing that I also want to point out is that as much as I'm saying that we want to see price push further down to around this level, which is in line with this level over here, just also bear in mind that we have this W structure over here. Let me just actually draw it properly. We have this overextended W structure over here, which also has a neckline at that point. And similar to when we had this M structure, when it comes to W structures, we also want to see price breaking to the upside of that neckline, coming back to the neckline to test it, and at this point is where we might potentially look for those buying opportunities, right? So guys, as I've said, we have this W structure which has a neckline at that point, and we saw price breaking to the upside of that neckline and then coming back to the neckline to test it. So at this point in time, what's happening is that price at this area is actually testing the neckline of this W structure, and at this point we might potentially get a reversal of sorts, right? We might potentially get a reversal of sorts. So what I'm going to do now is just add a neckline for that W structure. Let's have a look, guys. Let's have a look. And just remember that necklines are areas and not so much actual lines, right? So as I've said, guys, just to recap, we have this W structure with a neckline over there. We had price breaking to the upside of that neckline, coming back to the neckline to test it. And as I've said, at this point, we might potentially get a reversal of sorts, right? Nonetheless, having said that, in order for us to buy at this point, we would need confirmation. We would need confirmation. I'm not saying that we should be buying at this point. I'm saying that we would need confirmation. But myself personally, I would love to see price push further down to around this level over here, as I've said. And at this level is where I would look for those potential buying opportunities, right? Another reason why I believe that price may push further down to around this area over here is because we have this W structure. And what normally happens when it comes to W structures is that a lot of traders and investors usually buy on the second leg of that structure, and a lot of them, especially traders, put their stop losses just below. So there is a lot of money sitting in and around this area in the form of stop losses, and it's actually liquidity that needs to be triggered by the market. And as I've said, guys, we might see the market push further down to grab all of that money, only to push further up, and this would give us a very nice W structure. I hope you guys can see that. It would give us a very nice W structure. And as I've said, whenever it comes to these W structures, what normally happens is that traders and investors usually buy on the second leg of the W structure, right? So anyway, from here, what I'm going to do is head down to the weekly chart. Let's see what's happening on the weekly chart. Here we are on the weekly chart. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Another thing that is also very much interesting in regards to the weekly chart is that we have this candlestick over here. It is a bearish candlestick with a small body and quite a long lower wick, and it tells us that at the bottom where that wick ends, we have a lot of liquidity there that needs to be triggered by the market at this level over here. And just remember that liquidity is money, guys. Liquidity is money, and the market will always go to where the liquidity is, right, or where the money is. What else do we see, guys, in regards to the weekly chart? Let's have a look. Another thing that I see in regards to the weekly chart is that, remember, guys, earlier we spoke about how we have this huge M structure over here with a neckline at that point, right? Can you guys also see that we had another M structure over here with a neckline at that point, right? To add to that, we also have an overextended M structure over here, which also has a neckline at that point. And you guys by now know that whenever it comes to these M structures, we want to see price, as I've said, guys, breaking to the bottom side of that neckline, heading back to the neckline to test it, and at that point is where we would look for potential selling opportunities. So for now, we can just disregard this M structure and just focus on this one over here, right? Let me just actually add a neckline for that M structure. Just bear with me, guys. So we could say more or less that the neckline of this M structure is over here. And guys, remember, it's an overextended M structure, right? It's an overextended M structure because the first leg is much higher than the second leg. Can you guys see that? Right. And as I've said, guys, currently price is at this level over here, which is the neckline of that other W structure that we spoke about on the monthly chart. And I said that it is quite possible that at this point we might get a reversal all the way to maybe this point, right? And why do I say this point over here? That is because, guys, we have this M structure over here, which has a neckline at that point, right? And as I said to you guys, that whenever we have these type of rather formations, you want to see price after having broken the neckline, going back to the neckline to test it, and at that point where the neckline is where we would look for potential selling opportunities, right? And also this level over here, which is the neckline, is also a very strong level of resistance, right? Just keep that in the back of your mind, right? Anyway, what else do we see here, guys? At this point I don't see much. I'm just gonna head down to the daily chart, and here we are on the daily chart. Let's have a look. So the first thing that I'm going to do in regards to the daily chart is to add my daily channel, and just bear with me, guys, while I do so. Let's see, and apologies, guys, for the background noise. There seems to be some dogs barking. Anyway, let's proceed, and just bear with me, guys, while I add my daily channel. And guys, we can see that in as far as the daily chart of Mr. Price goes, we are in a downward trend, right? We are in a downward trend, guys, right? And yeah, it confirms and it speaks to what I've said earlier, that chances are that the market will continue to move further down. And as I've said, guys, on the weekly chart we have, or rather the monthly chart, we have that huge M structure, and I said to you guys that we want to see price ending at around this level right over here, which is in line with this level, which is where it started, right? So there is plenty of scope for the market to continue to push further up, right? And as I've said to you guys, what we may see is price coming back to this level, and at this level is where we should be looking for further selling opportunities, right? So that is it, guys, as far as my analysis of Mr. Price goes. I hope what I've said so far makes sense. If you have any further questions, just let me know, and just remember to like and subscribe to the channel if you do indeed like it. And just in conclusion, guys, remember, if I can just go back to the bigger time frames, remember I said to you guys that there's plenty of scope for the market to push all the way to this level, because number one, this is where exactly this M actually started, and number two, we also have this W structure, and a lot of people buying at this point and placing their stop losses just below. So we might potentially see price push further down to around this area to grab all of that liquidity, only to push further up, right? And this would give us a very nice W structure, right? It would give us a very nice W structure. Can you guys see that? And remember, I said to you guys that whenever we have these W structures, what normally happens is that a lot of traders and investors buy on that second leg, right? So that's it as far as my analysis goes, guys, and peace out.